So we are starting the 12th chapter of Mishlei, the 12th chapter of Pirkei Avot, of the book of Proverbs, the book of Mishlei, and it begins like this. Ohev musar, ohev da'at, soneh tochachat ba'ar. One who loves discipline, one who loves is someone who loves knowledge. The soneh tochachat ba'ar. But one who hates tochacha, who hates reproof, who hates getting, told what is right and what is wrong, is a bore or is brutish. Okay, this is the first opening lines of the 12th chapter over here. So what does he say over here? He says, "Ohev musar, ohev da'at." Okay, one who loves musar, one who loves discipline, loves knowledge. Why do those two things go together? What's the relation between one who loves discipline, loves knowledge? Do they have to go together? Can they be separate? Do they always, is that always true? And I would say yes, it is always true. Now, why? You see, we think that discipline is just about, oh, don't do that, or you're going to get in trouble. That's not discipline. That is a form of discipline. How would you explain what discipline is? Okay, discipline, my friends, is about creating boundaries. It's about creating limitations. It's about recognizing that you can't do whatever you want whenever you want. Something that this generation struggles with, discipline. What do you mean? I'm free and I could do whatever I want to do. I could go wherever I want to go. I could be whatever I want to be. And then, while that's a nice fantasy that people like to tell and share themselves, but in reality, the real world that we live in is a world in which we need to create boundaries for ourselves. What would we be if we did whatever we wanted whenever we felt like? What would our children be like if we never created boundaries for them? What would our families look like if there were no boundaries? We know what those things look like. They're a disaster. Those are horrible things. We don't want to live in a reality where there are no boundaries. When we talk about discipline, we're talking about creating boundaries. Okay? Ohev musar, one who loves discipline, that same person loves da'at, knowledge. They go together. Because a wise person wants to improve and wants to become better. Someone who is looking for truth, someone who is looking for emet, someone who's looking for wisdom is always working towards building more and more and more. And it's interesting, the only way you could do that is by creating boundaries. How many of you want to start a book, but you keep getting distracted by the old patterns of behavior? How many of you have wanted to do X, Y, and Z, insert whatever it is in those letters, and for whatever reason you've been, too busy, too whatever it is, you forgot about it, too forgetful? Discipline is someone who is obsessed with using their time proactively. So someone's saying procrastination, that was the word I was looking, thank you. Yeah, procrastination is the worst possible mean that you could possibly have. But if you are a lover of knowledge, you're also a lover of all kinds of other things. Like you're the lover of doing things immediately. You're the lover of looking for wisdom. You're proactively engaging in building yourself. So he makes this very, 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 these are 4 words, ohev musar, ohev da'at. By the way, if you find people who are one or the other, someone who loves knowledge or someone who loves discipline, you'll find that they have the other. Anyone that you know that is brilliant is disciplined. And anyone that you know that is not brilliant lacks discipline. Anyone that you know that loves wisdom has discipline. So this is a beautiful, very deep insight into like just the nature of people. Now, people are given to temptation all the time, and that's fine, but we have something called an evil inclination, and it trips us up, and we make mistakes sometimes, and that's okay. We're allowed to make mistakes, and that's why at the end of the pasuk he says, "But soneh tochachat bar," but one who hates. That's a strong word. Not someone who is uncomfortable, not someone who doesn't like it, but someone who hates tochacha. That person is brutish. Okay, is a bore. Okay, why? Because if you hate musar, you hate tochacha, you're always going to remain doing the same thing over and over again. There's no room to grow. There's no room. A boar is related to to an animal, right? That person is an animal, right? A person who is always set ablaze with their desires that they can't control. That is what a boar is. Is that what you are? Are you just an animal that has strong emotions that you can't control? Is that all you are, just your desires? Or, my friends, are we striving for something more? And again, I know it comes off as being harsh. The rabbi is saying, oh, got to control your desires. I'm not telling you not to enjoy the world. I'm not telling you not to go out and have fun, have pleasure, have fun, eat good food, drink good wine, go out and party. Do all those things, but not at the expense of not creating some kind of space where you are building yourself. This is Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech, again, the smartest man that ever lived, is telling you that if you want to be someone that lives a life of wisdom, of meaning, of happiness, of health, of growth, of success, all those things are tied into this idea of someone who is a pursuer of wisdom, a pursuer of knowledge, a pursuer of discipline. Without that, you're just subscribing to your nefesh behemit, your animal soul. And if you want to learn more about souls, please join me on Wednesday at 11 a.m. for Coffee Talk. We're going to be going through the different aspects of the neshama of the human soul. That's just a plug for my Wednesday class. But there's also a class tomorrow in person. If you're here, please join me tomorrow at 12 o'clock at the synagogue. We're going through the book of Genesis, and we're in the garden right now. So it's a lot of fun, the Garden of Eden, that is. And yeah, that's all for now. You have this idea of, we are made up of both soul and this body, and we don't want to be controlled by our bodies. But again, Judaism is not a typical religion in that sense. We want you to enjoy all the earthly pleasures. I want you to have everything that life has to offer, but I want you to do it within the constraints of boundaries, right? I want you to have the juiciest steak, but it's better to have it on Shabbat, right? I want you to have the most amazing wine. Better to have that with your Shabbat steak. I want you to have, all the pleasures that life has, but you put them in the right place. Otherwise, our whole lives become one of pursuit of just of pleasure. And what happens is when we live a life of just pleasure, yesterday's luxuries become today's necessities. And then all we're doing is we're weakening ourselves. Over, and it becomes harder and harder to get off the couch. You know what I'm saying? When you sit on the couch, you're like, I'll get up later. And it's like an hour, and then it's like 2 hours, and you're still sitting on the couch, right, Roman? Anyway, so you have this beautiful idea. So let's continue going on over here. So this duality between the body and the soul, and what helps us overcome the animal instinct within us is this relationship that we have to knowledge, to wisdom. So he continues. He says, "Tov yafik ratzon v'Hashem v'ish mezimot yerishia." A good man is going to look for favor from God, from the Lord, but a man of evil devices is going to be condemned. Okay, what is he talking about? So a good man is someone who tov yafik ratzon v'Hashem. A good man is going to ask favor from God. A good person brings out God's pleasures to bring good to the world. A good person is someone who is working on that relationship with God so that he can go ahead and express godliness in the world. And through that godliness, he is bringing good to the world. Ish mizimot yershia. But a person who is a schemer is always causing wickedness. A person schemes, makes others blameworthy, and therefore causing those other people to suffer and to go through punishment. The schemer is always condemning the world because he tips the balance of the guilt to the guilty side. This happened to me last night. I had a barbecue in Deal, New Jersey, and I caught a bunch of people sneaking into the barbecue. They avoided going through the normal challenges. They went around, and I called them out, and they ignored me, and I called the security guard to get him out. This guy comes, he's like, "Rabbi," he's like, he didn't know I don't think he knew I was the rabbi. He's like, "You know what you are? You're a snitch." I'm like, "I'm a snitch? You broke into a party and you didn't pay for it. Well, why did you have to tell anybody?" I'm like, "What do you mean? People paid to get in and you just chose not to pay. You're just a snitch." And this is exactly that. These people came in and they made a ruckus. They were upset. They started crying to the rabbi, because it was Rabbi Fari's house, about how, they want to get in and yada, yada. But these people, when they have evil schemes, they are always doing things to balance things to the guilty side. They're always bringing, schemers are always involved in being guilty, and they won't even take the guilt for it. They're going to blame it on somebody else. They're going to push that blame on somebody else. Okay, so he continues. He says, "Lo yichon adam beresha v'shoresh tzadik bal yimot." Right? A man, lo yichon adam beresha. A man will not be established with wickedness. V'shoresh tzadikim, but the root of righteousness, bal yimot, will not be shaken loose, will not be lost. Okay. So lo yichon adam beresha. When you are accumulating all kinds of sins, right? When you're sinfully accumulating wealth, when you're sinfully accumulating all kinds of things through negative means, right? Those things will not enable someone to remain well established. If you're stealing to make your money, you're never going to be wealthy. It just doesn't work like that. Now, there is no ken, right? Lo yikon, there's no ken, firm base under a wicked person. A wicked person is always going to get what's coming to them. It's just a matter of time. You'll see. It always works out that way. Okay, but the root of a righteous person will never ever falter. It'll always remain firm. As long as the root remains in the ground, as long as a person's planted, they can grow again. And similarly, when the righteous fall, it's only temporary. They're always going to rise again, right? What is the root of righteousness? The root of righteousness that we're talking about refers to our children. They remain after their parents die. They're the ones that are always going to be in that space of continuously building and doing more after we're here, and God willing for them and their children, and so on and so forth. We're just part of what I call the cycle of insanity. And then you have a choice to make. You could either, my friends, continue the cycle of insanity, or you could break the wheel. What do I mean? So much of who we are is an expression of our parents' best and worst traits. And when we don't overcome our parents' worst traits and we adopt them to make our own, all we're doing is challenging our children with the challenge of overcoming those negative traits. And it's hard. Why would you want them to do that when you have the ability of overcoming it so they could work on other things? Okay, so whatever we don't fix for ourselves, we give it off to the next generation. And I have a suspicion that all the insanity that we deal with, that we inherited from our parents, has been in the family for quite some time. and you know, and it's interesting because we are in a time in history where we actually have the means, the luxury, the ability to reflect in this unique way and build a better, brighter future for ourselves. But over here, the base, right, is a separate unit supporting the object that's resting on it, and this ken, right, is where the temple is built. That's the kior, right, which is where the laver was placed. The root is an integral part of a plant, and we know that a man is compared to an inverted tree. His head is like the root planted in the heavenly spheres. A wicked person can cut himself out of his spirituality. He completely removed himself from all spiritual things. So his body solely rests on materialism. Materialism becomes his base. All the gashmiut, that becomes his reality. And that base eventually collapses because all physical things come and go. However, the righteous, they are cleaving to their holy roots. They are cleaving to their spirituality. Therefore, even if they are going to go ahead and be drawn down towards the world of impurity, the world of only materialism, not a world of elevating materialism, which is what Judaism wants. I want you to have materialism, but I want you to elevate it. I don't want that to become the goal. If you're living in a world where you're elevating the spiritual, where you're elevating the material, those roots remain firmly planted in their bodies, and those bodies are planted very deep into their roots. Okay, no matter how stormy it is outside, no matter how much challenge they find themselves in, the inner support will hold them up. That's what it means over here in this pasuk over here. V'shor tzadikim balim, with the righteous, no matter how we interpret it. You think they're not having fun? Oh, the rabbi is the rabbi. The rabbi is doing very well. Don't worry about him. Okay, because he's firmly planted. The people that are not firmly planted, those are the ones that are going to, God forbid, deal with the challenge of being associated and related and connected to only materialism. Okay, so let's continue. So it says over here like this: Machshavot tzadikim mishpat. The thoughts of the righteous are justice. Tachbulot reshaim mirma. The devices of the wicked are deceit. Okay, another beautiful idea over here. Okay, so honestly, I just realized I just skipped the pasuk over here. Eshet chayil, sorry about that. Eshet chayil ateret ba'ala. The virtuous woman, Eshet chayil, the woman of praise. Ateret ba'ala is the crown of her husband. She's the jewel of her husband. Ubekaraf ba'atzmatav mavisha. But an embarrassing wife is like rot in the bones. Okay, what does that mean? Eshet chayil ateret ba'ala and rakav ba'atzmot mavisha. Right, the idea that she is the rot of the bones. Okay, so let's talk first positively. Okay, it's interesting, but you notice that Shlomo Melech always starts with a positive stance and then goes into something negative. Eshet chayil ateret ba'ala, right? And Eshet chayil is like a crown. She becomes the source of his pride. She becomes a source of his dignity, right? Her husband knows exactly who she is and what she's capable of doing. This term, Eshet chayil, describes a woman who is zariz. She's diligent. She's diligent in her attitude and her actions. Okay? We're talking about a virtuous woman, someone who has virtue, someone who has virtue. We're not talking about just a woman who, does whatever she does. We're talking about someone who is zariz. That's what Eshet chayil is. Okay, so what is but a shameful one is like rot in the bones. A woman with shameful deeds. Okay, sorry. A woman with shameful deeds. Let me just do not disturb my phone. A woman with shameful deeds is like a worm that enters a person's bones and grinds them up. There's no cure for that kind of sickness. The rot is happening on the inside. A wife is considered to be a part of her husband's innermost being. This is true both ways, by the way, husband and wife to each other. Right? We know this because Eve was created from the bone of Adam, right? And therefore, when she acts shamefully, it's a part of his shame as well. We're interconnected. So what does it mean to be an Eshet chayil? An Eshet chayil is a proactive woman who is looking for wisdom. It's all the beautiful women that are here right now coming to listen to a class to become more diligent and knowledgeable, becoming greater women. That's what Eshet chayil is. You, my friends, are wearing the ateret ba'ala, the crown of your husband, because you're here working on becoming better, bigger, greater women. Machshavot tzadikim mishpat, right? The thoughts of the righteous are justice, but tachbulot rasha'im mirma, and the devices of the wicked are deceit. Okay, so the thoughts of the righteous are just. To act just and to save and to save the oppressed from their oppressors is what we're talking about. Moshe, he personified this trait when he came to the aid of Yitro's daughters, right? When the shepherds would not let them have water from the well, he goes ahead and he does what justice is justice. But tachbulot rasha'im mirma, but the schemes of the wicked, they are at their core deceit. Right? They're always strategizing to facilitate some kind of deceit. Once you smell deceit, once you smell dishonesty, no, it lingers. You'll find it in other places as well. And he continues over here. Divrei reshaim, orev dam, upi yisharashim yatzilem. The words of the wicked, they're searching for blood. But the mouths of the right, pish befi sharim yatzilem, they're going to be ones that save them. The words of the wicked are looking for blood because they're advising murder, right? We're not talking about killing somebody. We're talking about killing ourselves, my friends. When we allow ourselves to submit to the desires of the body, when we submit ourselves to the emotions, when we make emotional decisions and we are not making rational decisions, all we have done is murdered the holier, greater part of ourselves. Do you get that? You're killing a part of you. The words of the wicked, right? They are looking for blood because they're shedding blood. Whose blood are they shedding? Your own blood through their false testimony. Oh, don't worry, you'll be okay. You could take that. Don't worry about it. It's okay. God loves you. Don't worry about it. You could take that. They don't need that. They're rich. They're good. Don't worry about it. It's called false testimony. Okay, but the mouth of the righteous, the mouth of the righteous are ones that are always looking to be involved in a place where they could help, right? You have a situation where good people, when they hear plans of someone who's a victim, what do they want to do? They want to help. They want to go ahead and they want to be involved in everything they can to make the world a better place. That is what it means to be a yashar, someone who is always straight like an arrow, ready to jump into action. Even wicked people, by the way, they could speak sweetly, but their intentions should always be suspect. Okay, because you don't want to be one of their victims. But a good person, someone that you know is yashar, yashrut, is the most important midah. Anyone in business, okay, you're looking for friends, you're looking for associates. There is no greater trait than yashrut. Someone who's straight, someone who's honest, someone who is just. Those midot are gold, my friends, gold. Those are the people that you want to invest in. Those are the people that you want to build a relationship with. Those are the people that you could go into any business deal. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. But you got to do a lot of prepping before you get there. Okay, so he continues. He says, Hafoch reshaim ve'enam ubayit tzadikim ya'amod. The wicked, they're going to be overthrown and they're going to be no more. But the house of the righteous is going to stand. It's going to endure. Okay, so the wicked house is overturned. Why? Why is the wicked house overturned? Why are they going through this space where they are unable to, maintain their footing? Is because we said that the righteous people, the wicked people, they're people who don't have a footing. Their roots are somewhat broken. Okay, it's like Sodom. They built their homes on quicksand. Their memory was obliterated. Everything that about them, their city, their society, their civilization is erased. The wicked is always overturned and they are no more. They're decimated in an instant. But the house of the righteous are going to endure. My friends, we are still talking about the house of Abraham. We're talking about the house of Isaac and Jacob, right? We're talking about the reality where we know that God scrutinizes the deeds of the wicked and the wicked nations. You're so worried about all these countries that are doing their anti-Semitism. Don't worry about it. Ben and Jerry, they're going to get it. I hope all their ice cream melts. I was in I was in the supermarket yesterday picking some stuff up. And I saw like this huge, freezer of Ben and Jerry's, and not one was taken. I was like, yes, no one's buying this stuff. People are so angry at them. When people do things that are unjust, does it make any sense that Ben and Jerry should go ahead and single-handedly call out Israel, right, as an occupier, when you have other countries like China occupying? Why don't they go ahead and boycott China? Why don't they stop? Oh, you know why they can't? They can't because they're going to lose too much money, right? It's too much money. But Israel, we're going to bully Israel. We could bully Israel. That, my friends, is anti-Semitism. When you have a duplicitous position that is only unique to the Jewish people and no one else, that is an anti-Semitic attack. And I was so proud to see how the community stood up to it. Publix got up and said, we're not buying your, not selling your ice cream. The governor of Florida said, we're going to look into, how we license those ice cream and other Unilever products as well. There should be a massive uproar. We should not live in a world where companies could bully Israel into doing anything, right? Unless they're going to be fair. If you want to be fair, but don't single out Israel. Don't single out the Jews. You want to go ahead and you want to criticize me, b'chavo, do it. But if you're going to criticize me for a specific instance, and there are other people doing the same thing, I'm not saying that gives me license to do it. Don't get me wrong. Israel, I'm going to say it straight out. It has problems. Every country does. But when you're singling out Israel, a small economy, 9 million people, and you have other economies that are doing the same exact thing and you're ignoring them, you're just an anti-Semite. I'm sorry, Ben and Jerry's. I hope your ice cream melts. Anyway, so you have the Reshaim, they're going to be overturned. They're going to be gone. They're going to be obliterated. It's going to happen. These people had a very negative reason to do what they did. They just wanted to hurt. They wanted to harm. And you'll see how they're going to be paid back tenfold for their evil approach. The thoughts of the righteous are justice. The devices of the wicked are receipt. Divrei Reshaim are of dam. We did all this. Hafok Reshaim ve'einam. The wicked are going to be overturned. But the righteous people, my friends, the people that are doing the right thing, even though it's hard, they are going to be rewarded. And I'm not sure if it means in this world or the next. But I think we all know that when we stand up for justice, when we stand up for doing what is right, we feel amazing. That is when we plant our feet into the ground and our roots begin to spread. That's when we become firm. When we have that clarity of knowledge of who we are, what we are, you become a tzaddik. You become righteous. That house, ubayit tzaddikim ya'amod, it's going to stand. Why? Lefi sichlo yehulal ish v'nava lev yelevu. According to his intelligence, a man is praised. But he whose heart has turned away, that person, yelebuz, will be despised. Okay, so we started off this chapter talking about the idea that there's a deep relationship between diligence, creating boundaries, and wisdom. Okay, so the feast ish, according to a man's wisdom, he's going to be praised. A person will earn reward according to how much wisdom he achieves. You want to be righteous? You can't have righteousness if you don't have clarity as to what it means to be righteous. You can't stand up for the things you believe in if you can't articulate what you believe in. You need to be pursuer of wisdom. But one who is has a distorted heart, even, that person's going to be put to shame. When one's heart is pure, his intellect is glorious. But when a person's heart is perverse, it corrupts his intellect, and eventually that person will be despised. People like Unilever and this company that went ahead and boycotted, you see the people that did this, they're going to be called out for what they did because they weren't looking for righteousness. They weren't looking for wisdom. They weren't being, they think they were being righteous, but they weren't being righteous. These people were evil people that just wanted to hurt Jews, period. They weren't helping anybody. Okay, let's do one more and then we'll call it a night and we'll pick up and verse 10 next week. Tov nikla ve'eved lo mitkabed v'chasar lechem. Better is he who is lightly esteemed, but is a slave to himself, than one who is honored but lacks bread. Let's do that again. Tov nilka ve'eved lo mitkaved v'chasar lechem. It's better off is the lowly one who serves for his keep than the mitkaved v'chasar, the pompous one who is lacking bread. It's better to be a person to have a lower self-esteem, to be more humble, right, than to be to be his own slave, versus someone who considers himself to be so honorable that it's beneath his dignity to even work. Right? I have no problem moving chairs when I need to. I have no problem getting my hands dirty when I need to, because there's no job I can't do. There's no kavod here. If you want to be a leader, then you have to be willing to do anything and everything. There is nothing that I'm afraid of doing. The Chachamim tell us, and they urge, that a person should always choose menial labor so that their minds can be free to think about the bigger parts of who they are. Don't choose jobs that preoccupy every thought, but choose a position that frees you. It's these kinds of thinking, this kind of conversation that we need to have so we could free ourselves from the grips of the body's wants, pleasures, needs. Okay. I think one last point over here that I want to mention, and we'll end with this. A person should never, ever be ashamed to confess their ignorance. You should never be afraid to ask someone for help. Doesn't matter how old you are. You don't know something. Oh, everyone should know this. I don't know it. Don't be afraid. Ask. Don't pretend to understand something and remain ignorant. Baishanim eno lomdim, people that are shy don't learn. We're saying like this: to be Jewish means to be people of the book. To be Jewish means that you're someone who's proactively thinking about learning and growing and building and developing. But if you think you're a know-it-all, right, then you'll find yourself living in a world of just continued ignorance. My blessing is that you recognize your unique strengths and talents, that don't be afraid to ask the questions. Remember, the quality of your life is often an expression of the quality of the questions that you ask. Ready? The quality of your life is an expression of the quality of the questions that you are asking. And therefore, the more you ask, the more you're not ashamed to go ahead and learn and push, the more deeply profound you are connected to tzidkut, to righteousness. And that home, my friends, will never be overturned. Laila Tov, looking forward to sharing more ancient wisdom for modern times with you. Bezrat Hashem next week, same time, same place. Laila Tov, Shavua Tov. Thank you all for coming and joining.